Did you know that the leftover chicken from last night could be sending you straight to the emergency room? I'm not being dramatic to create fear. Just this morning, I received news about a patient who ended up in intensive care after consuming properly stored leftovers from her refrigerator. I'm Dr. Elena Carter, a physician with over 10 years of experience specializing in health and wellness for people over 50. Today, we'll uncover 5 common foods that transform into dangerous toxins when reheated, including why rice becomes what hospitals call the silent killer, how potatoes can generate botulism-like compounds, and the shocking truth about spinach creating cancer-causing chemicals. You'll discover the exact molecular processes that turn nutritious meals into health hazards, and learn my proven 3-step safety protocol that could save your life. Let me share something that will forever change how you view your microwave. Every year, over 76 million people worldwide suffer from food poisoning. But here's the shocking part. 25% of these cases aren't from spoiled food, but from improperly reheated meals that looked, smelled, and tasted completely normal. When we reheat foods multiple times, we're not just warming them up, we're activating chemical processes that convert beneficial nutrients into potentially lethal compounds. It's like conducting chemistry experiments in our kitchen without realizing we're creating poison. Think of your fresh food as a perfectly assembled puzzle. Each time you heat it, you're shaking that structure. The first heating might move a few pieces, but it remains recognizable. The second time causes more disruption. By the third heating, you have scattered pieces that no longer form the original structure. This is exactly what happens to food molecules during repeated heating. Proteins, which are like perfectly organized chains, begin to denaturalize, changing their shape and structure, potentially becoming toxic to our bodies. The problem isn't just proteins. Fats also oxidize with repeated heat, creating compounds called free radicals that literally attack our cells like microscopic projectiles. This explains why some people feel nauseous or uncomfortable after eating reheated leftovers. There's something called thermal memory in foods that most people don't know about. Every time food goes through a heating and cooling cycle, it remembers that process at a molecular level, carrying an internal counter that makes molecules unstable after certain cycles. Microorganisms play a crucial role here. When food cools, not all bacteria die. Some enter a hibernation state, waiting for the perfect moment to reactivate. That moment comes exactly when you reheat food to temperatures that aren't high enough to kill them, but sufficient to wake them up. Imagine a thermometer with 4 degrees Celsius at the bottom and 60 degrees Celsius at the top. Everything between these numbers is what scientists call the danger zone, the perfect range for bacteria to multiply exponentially. A single bacterium can become over 16 million in just 8 hours within this temperature zone. Here's the really dangerous part. When you reheat food in a microwave, you rarely achieve uniform temperatures. While some areas reach 70 degrees Celsius, others remain at 45 degrees Celsius. These lukewarm areas become small paradises for bacteria to multiply undetected. Time is also crucial. The general rule is that no food should remain in the danger zone for more than 2 hours, but most of us don't. Time how long our food stays out of the refrigerator before reheating. Let me share a real example that profoundly affected me. A family of 4 was hospitalized after eating fried rice that had been reheated 3 times over 2 days. Subsequent analysis showed the rice had spent a total of 6 hours in the danger zone, enough time for bacteria to create toxins so potent they survived even when the rice was finally heated to high temperatures. The 5 most dangerous foods when reheated first: chicken and poultry. Chicken is probably the star of our leftovers and also one of the most treacherous when it comes to reheating. When you cook chicken for the first time, proteins coagulate in a specific, natural, and safe way. But when you reheat it, especially multiple times, these proteins begin to decompose very differently. Imagine chicken proteins as perfectly wound balls of yarn. The first heating unwinds them in a controlled manner, but each subsequent reheating is like taking that ball and stretching it in random directions until it becomes an impossible knot to untangle. These protein knots are extremely difficult for your stomach to digest, which is why many people experience that heavy sensation or abdominal pain after eating reheated chicken. Your digestive system literally doesn't know what to do with these deformed protein structures. A University of California study found that chicken reheated more than once contains significant levels of heterocyclic amines, compounds directly associated with colorectal cancer development. When you reheat chicken, something called secondary thermal denaturation occurs. Chicken proteins, mainly myosin and actin, change their spatial configuration. This affects not only taste and texture, but creates compounds your body recognizes as foreign. Your immune system responds by attacking these foreign compounds, resulting in intestinal inflammation. Additionally, repeated chicken reheating can generate cholesterol oxides, which are much more dangerous than regular cholesterol, accumulating in arteries more aggressively. For safe chicken handling, never reheat chicken more than once. Ensure internal temperature reaches at least 75 degrees Celsius throughout. If chicken has been refrigerated for more than 2 days, don't reheat it. Consider creative alternatives like using cold shredded chicken in salads or sandwiches. Second, rice. If you thought chicken was problematic, wait until you learn the truth about rice. This seemingly harmless grain hides one of the most underestimated dangers in our kitchen. Rice naturally contains spores of a bacteria called Bacillus cereus. These spores are like dormant seeds that can survive the initial cooking process. Even when you cook rice perfectly, these spores remain waiting. The real problem begins when cooked rice cools slowly or stays at room temperature. The spores awaken and become active bacteria that produce two extremely dangerous types of toxins, one causing severe vomiting and another provoking intense diarrhea. The most terrifying aspect of these toxins is that they're thermostable, meaning even if you reheat rice to very high temperatures, the toxins don't get destroyed. Think of Bacillus cereus spores as microscopic vampires. During the day, while rice is hot, they sleep and pose no danger. But when night falls, when rice cools, they awaken and begin feeding on rice starch. Every hour rice spends at room temperature, the bacterial population doubles. After 4 hours, you have millions of bacteria producing toxins. After 8 hours, the rice is practically a biological weapon in your kitchen. A Centers for Disease Control study documented over 200 rice poisoning cases in a single year. Symptoms typically appear between 1 and 6 hours after consumption, including projectile vomiting, severe diarrhea, and abdominal cramps lasting up to 24 hours. When rice cools after initial cooking, starch changes its molecular structure in a process called retrogradation. This retrograded rice is harder to digest and creates the perfect environment for bacteria to thrive. Safe rice rules: cool rice quickly. Never leave cooked rice at room temperature for more than 1 hour. Consume refrigerated rice within 24 hours maximum. Never reheat rice more than once. Ensure complete heating to at least 70 degrees Celsius throughout. When in doubt about storage time, discard it. Third, potatoes and tubers. Cooked potatoes are another food we consider completely safe, but hide deadly dangers when reheated incorrectly. Cooked potatoes, especially when wrapped in aluminum foil and kept warm, create the perfect environment for Clostridium botulinum growth, the bacteria producing botulinum toxin. This is the same toxin used in aesthetic treatments, but in food concentrations can be lethal. Botulism is one of the most severe forms of food poisoning, directly affecting the nervous system, causing muscular paralysis that can progress to affect respiratory muscles. Without immediate medical treatment, it can be fatal. Cooked potatoes have an almost neutral pH, making them the ideal environment for bacterial growth. When we cool them slowly, especially if wrapped or covered, we create anaerobic conditions perfect for dangerous bacteria. A University of Wisconsin study documented that potatoes kept at room temperature for more than 4 hours developed detectable levels of botulinum toxins. Most alarmingly, these toxins have no taste, smell, or color. The potato can look and taste completely normal. In 1994, a botulism outbreak in Texas was traced to baked potatoes kept warm in aluminum foil during a charity dinner. 30 people became ill, and 4 had to be connected to artificial respirators. For safe tuber storage, keep cooked potatoes either hot above 60 degrees Celsius or cold below 4 degrees Celsius. Cool potatoes quickly by cutting into small pieces. Never reheat potatoes more than once. Avoid wrapping cooked potatoes in aluminum foil for storage. Don't keep cooked potatoes for more than 3 days refrigerated. Fourth, spinach and leafy greens. Spinach represents one of the most surprising cases of foods becoming toxic when reheated. What makes this vegetable particularly dangerous is that many parents regularly reheat it for their children, unknowingly creating potentially carcinogenic compounds. Spinach naturally contains high levels of nitrates, compounds that in their natural state are relatively harmless and even beneficial. But when you reheat spinach, especially in microwaves, these nitrates convert to nitrites and then nitrosamines, compounds the World Health Organization has classified as probably carcinogenic. This conversion process is irreversible. Once nitrates have transformed into toxic nitrites, there's no way to undo the damage. Most concerning is that babies and small children are especially vulnerable to these compounds. Their immature digestive system cannot neutralize nitrites the same way adults can, potentially leading to a condition called methemoglobinemia, or blue baby syndrome. When you heat spinach for the first time, nitrates remain relatively stable, but when you reheat them, especially after storage, bacteria naturally present in the vegetable begin reducing nitrates to nitrites. This process accelerates dramatically in warm, humid environments, exactly the conditions created when reheating spinach in microwaves. In just 2 to 3 minutes of reheating, nitrite levels can increase up to 10 times. A University of Vienna medical study found that reheated spinach contained nitrite levels exceeding European Union safety limits by more than 300%. Children under 6 months are extremely vulnerable to nitrite poisoning. When this occurs, blood loses its ability to transport oxygen efficiently, resulting in the characteristic bluish skin color that gives the syndrome its name. Safe leafy green handling. Consume leafy greens fresh or freshly cooked whenever possible. If you need to store cooked leafy vegetables, consume them cold in salads. For babies and children under 3, never reheat leafy greens. Consider adding fresh leafy greens to hot soups just before serving. Fifth, hard-boiled eggs. Hard-boiled eggs seem like the most harmless food in the world, but when you reheat them, you're initiating chemical processes that can generate compounds attacking your nervous system directly. Eggs contain extremely complex and delicate proteins. Albumin from whites and lipoproteins from yolks are perfectly balanced when eggs are cooked for the first time. But when you reheat a cooked egg, these proteins begin decomposing unpredictably. The reheating process breaks sulfur bonds that keep egg proteins in stable form. When these bonds break and reform randomly, they create protein structures your body doesn't recognize and can be toxic. Most concerning is that egg reheating can generate hydrogen sulfide in dangerous concentrations, a gas that's not only toxic, but can interfere with your cell's mitochondrial function, affecting energy production at the cellular level. When you reheat a hard-boiled egg, the yolk undergoes dramatic chemical changes. Lipids oxidize, forming compounds called oxysterols, which are much more dangerous to your cardiovascular health than regular cholesterol from fresh eggs. The white doesn't escape either. When reheated, albumin proteins coagulate abnormally, forming aggregates that are very difficult to digest and can cause intestinal inflammation. A Food Science University study found that reheated eggs contain significantly elevated levels of lipid oxidation end products, compounds associated with neurodegenerative disease development. Older adults are particularly vulnerable to toxic effects of reheated eggs, and children are also at risk due to their developing nervous systems being more susceptible to toxic compounds formed during reheating. Safe egg alternatives. Consume hard-boiled eggs cold. Shred hard-boiled eggs and add to cold dishes. If you absolutely need to use cooked eggs in a hot dish, add them at the end, just before serving. Consider making fresh scrambled eggs instead of reheating cooked ones. The universal safety pattern. After analyzing these 5 dangerous foods, you might wonder if there's a common pattern. The answer is absolutely yes. All these foods share specific characteristics, making them particularly vulnerable to becoming toxic when reheated. First, they all contain complex proteins or organic compounds susceptible to thermal denaturation. Second, they all have potential to harbor bacteria or spores that activate under specific temperature and time conditions. Almost any food can become dangerous if reheated incorrectly and enough times. The difference is that some foods have much lower safety thresholds. The scientific pattern connecting all these cases is what we call cumulative molecular degradation. Each time food goes through heating, cooling, and reheating cycles, molecules suffer stress. After a certain number of cycles, even the most stable molecules begin decomposing unpredictably. There's a critical temperature, 60 degrees Celsius. Above this temperature, most bacteria die quickly. Below it, many bacteria not only survive, but thrive. The problem is most of us don't monitor temperature when reheating, depending on imprecise methods like touching the plate or evaluating steam. When you reheat food without consistently reaching this critical temperature throughout the portion, you're creating perfect environment for bacterial growth while simultaneously decomposing beneficial food molecules. My universal food safety rule. After years of research and documenting hundreds of cases, I've developed what I call the universal food safety rule. One food, one reheating, one opportunity. This means any cooked food has the right to a single reheating opportunity. After that, it must be consumed immediately or discarded. No exceptions. This rule is based on the principle that each additional thermal cycle exponentially increases toxicity risk regardless of food type. Warning signs, never to ignore. Here are warning signs you should never ignore. Unexpected texture changes. If food feels more rubbery, harder, or strangely soft after reheating, proteins have dangerously denaturalized. Metallic or chemical taste, this is your natural alarm system. Unusual odor, even if not obviously bad, any aroma change after reheating should be taken seriously. Uncertain storage time. If you can't remember exactly when you cooked something or how many times you've reheated it, discard it. Discomfort after consumption. If you consistently feel sick after eating certain reheated foods, your body is sending a clear message. 3 simple rules to implement today. Rule number 1. Once reheated, once consumed. Any food you reheat must be consumed completely in that session. Leftover reheated food goes directly to trash. Rule number 2. Thermometers don't lie. Invest in a digital kitchen thermometer and use it. 60 degrees Celsius to kill bacteria, 75 degrees Celsius to destroy toxins. No negotiation on these numbers. Rule number 3. When in doubt, throw it out. If there's any uncertainty about storage time, number of reheatings, or food safety, it's not worth the risk. Your action plan. The knowledge we've shared today will only protect you if you implement it consistently. This isn't about living in fear of food, but making informed decisions that allow you to enjoy safe, healthy nutrition. Remember, your food safety is in your hands. Start implementing these rules immediately. Invest in a reliable kitchen thermometer, and always trust your instincts when something doesn't seem right. If this video has opened your eyes to reheating risks, please hit the like button, share it with your family and friends, and subscribe to our channel with notifications activated so you don't miss content that could literally save your life. Leave me a comment telling me which of these 5 foods surprised you most. Your health and safety are worth every precaution we can take together.